And our top story tonight, a senior Coast Guard official's statement caught on camera is now turning into a major embarrassment for the Defence Ministry and the central government. Contradicting the official line, a DIG rank officer claimed on camera that he had ordered a Pakistani boat to be blown up on the 31st of December. The Coast Guard is now scrambling to contain the damage. A visibly upset Defence Minister has ordered an inquiry and a show cause notice has been issued to the officer. Jugal Purohit has our top story tonight.
I hope you remember 31st December time. We blew off the Pakistan. We have blown them off.
A senior uniformed officer bragging to his peers, ignorant that the ripples would turn into a tsunami in just 2 days. The claim that he, B.K. Loshali, a Coast Guard DIG, had ordered the Pakistani rogue boat blown up had his parent organization scrambling for cover.
It is not factual. This is the statement of DIG Loshali himself, and he said that he does not subscribe to the text.
The mechanism will be strengthened further.
Loshali was soon facing the media, minus the swagger.
I hope you remember 31st December time. We blew off the Pakistan. We have blown them off. I was there at Gandhinagar and I told at night, blow the boat off.
I am not in a position to take my own independent decision as it has been quoted in paper. So I was not privy to whatever was happening.
But the storm was just gathering pace. Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar in Bengaluru for the annual Aero India show was soon submerged in questions about a possible cover-up by the government. But the Defence Minister stood by his earlier version that the crew of the suspicious boat blew it up after being tracked and asked to stop by the Coast Guard. Importantly, to douse the fire, Parrikar said he would release some of the evidence available to the government.
We stand by what we said. Issue is over. I will also release you the evidence of the event if you want it.
Category for Navy, the Coast Guard, or LND.
DIG Loshali has been served a show cause notice in a probe which could end in court-martial proceedings. The issue has meanwhile taken political colour.
The Indian Coast Guard DIG statement now recorded and in public. The Defence Ministry and the Defence Minister particularly is in a tight spot. The only way out, according to Parrikar, is to make the entire investigation public. But the question which arises then is just what took him and his ministry so long. With camera person Shivamurthy in Bengaluru, Jugal Purohit reporting for Headlines Today.
Okay, the big question, has the Coast Guard now embarrassed India by using disproportionate force against the Pakistani boat? That's the big question that I want to pose right at the top, because this could have far-reaching implications. Joining me now, Admiral Raja Menon to give us an expert perspective. Also the politicians, Abhishek Manu Singhvi, Member of Parliament, National Spokesperson, Congress, and Dr. Sambit Patra of the Bharatiya Janata Party. But I want to come to you, Rear Admiral Raja Menon, first, because purely as a professional, I want to ask you, do you believe that what was said by Mr. Lohali, in your view, Mr. Loshali, is clearly something out of line? Is he someone now who will have to pay the consequences? Because what he said is a huge embarrassment. Is he speaking the truth? Do you believe that an officer of his rank would have full knowledge of what happened exactly on the night of December 31st?
Well, what he has said is certainly disturbing, and it takes away from what was actually a very brilliant operation. And unfortunately, the emphasis is shifting to the way in which the incident has been handled in the media, rather than the way in which the boat was intercepted, which I think was a great effort. After all, the ocean is a big place. And to have located a troublesome boat in the middle of the ocean and sent a Coast Guard ship spot on to the exact point was, I think, indeed a very creditable operation. Now, the way in which the operation has been handled by the post-the incident leaves much to be desired. And it is certainly disturbing, to say the least.
The reason
but I don't think it should take away from the fact that after Mumbai, everyone would be on tenterhooks when it comes to a Pakistani boat which is suspicious and moving in the Arabian Sea.
Are you saying therefore that because of the nature of the operation, even if the boat was blown up by the Indian Coast Guard, they would be perfectly entitled, perfectly within their limits to do so? It's not disproportionate use of force?
It probably is a disproportionate use of force, but what is more, it would have helped greatly if some of the miscreants had been captured. I mean, just imagine what the Mumbai attack would have been if we had not captured Kasab. So having a live witness is always an advantage.
But that's,
and in that sense, disproportionate force should not have been used.
That's exactly it. The fact is we do not have a live witness. The fact is we do not have a live witness. The fact, Admiral Menon, is that you have a situation where your defense minister went on record to say that maybe those in the boat committed suicide. We have no bodies, we have no clue of the vessel. Do you get a sense that the country has not been told the truth about what happened on the night of December 31st?
Well, there are certainly doubts as to what the actual train of events were. But I'm sure that the Coast Guard, like all the other armed forces, has got a procedure for setting in motion a board of inquiry and, if necessarily, a court-martial. I mean, these events will follow. But I don't think we need to be as concerned. Well, I think we are certainly concerned, but I don't think it would be appropriate to call it an embarrassment as yet.
Okay, you're saying don't call it an embarrassment, but that's exactly what the opposition already is calling it. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, before I come to Sambit Patra, to you, the opposition parties are already now asking, why did the government lie in this case? Manish Tiwari, your former spokesperson, is saying, Defense Minister, what is a bigger sin, blowing the Pakistani boat or lying to the nation? If they were indeed terrorists, why be ashamed of blowing them? What is the Congress party here trying to say? Is the Congress party trying to say that the BJP is lying to the nation? The defense minister has lied to the nation when he said that the individuals in that boat took cyanide and committed suicide?
Rajdeep, this is hardly an issue on which politics should be played or allowed to be played. The Congress party is a responsible party, and on issues of national security involving Pakistan, we have given unstinted support always.
But this is what Manish Tiwari has said.
No, can I complete?
Hold on, I will let you complete. I'm only quoting what Manish Tiwari has said.
But Rajdeep, I've only started the answer. You have to give me a minute at least.
Please go ahead.
You've been speaking. I want to formulate. The stand of the Congress party on national security matters is always very, very responsible. But if the government is bent upon showing itself in utter disarray and doing hit wicket after hit wicket, what is to be done? It's a very serious matter. Just step back for a minute, Rajdeep. First, when this incident happens, the boat is supposed to have blown itself up. The defense minister says specifically on camera, we did not do it. Somebody else says the opposite. That somebody else then gives a retraction which makes the original look more truthful. The retraction is most embarrassing. You see it on television. Thereafter, the Home Minister, the Defense Minister that time, few months ago and today, repeats that we'll share everything, we'll do this, we'll show that. Nothing has happened. Now, the point is there are several disturbing questions. This is not the way national security or armed operations are carried on. You use disproportionate force in this country frequently, illegally. Certainly, a disproportionate force, if it is used in the theatre of war or external enemy, is permissible. You should come clean with the nation. What is the problem if he has used disproportionate show? But this can't be that on 31st December we are told, not a single live witness, nobody knows the truth. The defense minister then and now in 2 months has not shared any evidence. If he shares it, he is in a sense embarrassing national security. If he doesn't share it, he creates a serious doubt. We do not know whether there was a self-blowing or an attack by the Indian Navy. We don't know the identity of the miscreants. Now, this is a ridiculous situation. The government has only itself to blame. So howsoever responsible we may try to be, the point of the matter is that, you know, Pakistan is a puny nation compared to our economic and defense might. We can't look silly in the world in front of Pakistan with this kind of thing.
I think now you're going into the larger issue, which I will come to, because the fact is, Sambit Patra, that what has happened, I know Raja Menon says don't use the word embarrassment, but I will use the word because already the reports coming in from Pakistan are questioning India, saying India is a violent country that uses disproportionate force. And over the last month, we've had different versions from different Coast Guard officials, from the defense minister, who even on headlines today in an interview said that maybe the people on the boat took cyanide and died and committed suicide. Now I want to know what is the truth. The country needs to know where does the truth lie, sir. Was that boat blown up? And if it was blown up, why are we ashamed to admit it?
And that's the reason as to why I would like to begin my answer by saying, and in fact repeating what I had also said previously, that Congress in fact is supplying oxygen to Pakistan, because only today the Pakistani dispensation, the Pakistani defense minister to be specific, has latched on to what the Congress spokespersons have been saying, that India has been using disproportionate force. Now, having said this, I would say that the key word throughout the debate, not this debate, the debate right from December 31st till today, the key word should have been patience. Patience on the matter of national security, no politics on the matter of national security. The first day when this whole thing...
Sir, but where is that? Sir, I accept patience, but where is the transparency? Sambit Patra, where is the transparency? The government is not telling us exactly what happened.
I'm coming to it, Rajdeep. If you allow me some time and be patient right now in this debate, point by point, let me come to everything. First and foremost, let me answer your question on transparency. On issues of national security, there is a level of transparency. Well, yes, this government has promised to be transparent, and this government only today, the defense minister has said that the report is ready, and all those who wish to know the evidence are welcome to Delhi. They would be given the kind of answer that they were deserving. But the question is, should we be transparent to an extent where the sources are compromised? Is this for the first time that national security issues are to be transparent? Is it not that in the past also, fearing source compromise, a level of transparency has been shown?
Was the boat blown up, or did it sink on its own? That's the only question. What's wrong in answering that question? What are the national security implications
Mr. Rajdeep Sardesai, this is the problem in the country. When spokespersons of national political party are asked a question which only the defense minister of this country should be giving, that is the problem, and that is the compromising situation with national security. Neither me, nor my esteemed friend Mr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, nor any expert in this panel, nor you, Mr. Rajdeep Sardesai, is entitled to answer this question.
I am asking the question because your DIG Coast Guard has contradicted what the
Let me tell you, he is not my DIG. He is not my DIG, but he is my Raksha Mantri, his country's Raksha Mantri. If the Raksha Mantri has come up with an answer and you are not ready to believe what the Raksha Mantri is to say, you are not ready to believe what the agency in toto, the Coast Guard in toto has to say, but you have latched on to what the DIG himself is rebutting, was not his area of jurisdiction, but he may have overstepped and he may have spoken out of turn, which he was not allowed to, and for which a procedure inquiry has already been ordered.
Yes.
So why do we want to hang on to strings and provide oxygen to Pakistan? That is my question.
Okay, you believe it's giving oxygen to Pakistan. I'm going to bring in Praveen Swami in a moment, who's just joined us from the Indian Express, because Praveen has been making the point right from the beginning that he doesn't believe it was necessarily a terror boat. It could well have been carrying smugglers. But yes, Abhishek, give a quick response because you've been putting up your hand. Yes.
Very quick. Very quick. I think the BJP is unnecessarily tying itself up in knots. Where is the question of giving a rhetorical speech about national security when the simple point is that your own defense minister, the country's defense minister, 1.5 months ago and today has said we will share everything. Now you can't require patience beyond 2 months to answer a simple question. The silence of the government and the Raksha Mantri has created a further problem. So first point is, they have themselves offered to share the relevant information. Nobody is saying share everything. But what is to be shared? Nothing has happened in 2 months till today. It's only rhetoric. And secondly, as you put it, a simple question, it's not any contradiction. The simple question of self-blowing versus attacking, there is a responsible level officer who has said, whose candid camera statement is retracted. If you see the camera, it sounds so funny. He's obviously doing a fourth retraction.
There is a
now,
possibility.
This kind of thing shouldn't happen.
There is a possibility, though, Dr. Singhvi, and I want to bring you in, Praveen, that maybe the officer didn't really know. It was an empty boast. Officers may boast about the fact that, yes, we blew up a Pakistani boat. We were not going to give them biryani. How do we know that what has been said by Loshali is actually what happened at the day? He says now he wasn't involved in this operation.
Well, we don't know, but that would make it even worse for the government. Mr. Loshali is not speaking at some private forum in front of ignorant people. Look at the footage. He's speaking before an audience of fellow Coast Guard officers.
He may be bragging.
He may be bragging. If a Coast Guard officer, if a military official stands up and talks nonsense before an audience of his peers, I would like to imagine that that institution would remove that person from a position of extreme responsibility. If there is a terror attack tomorrow in Gujarat, Mr. Loshali's actions are the ones which will, on whose actions on whom the residents' lives will depend. Instead, for 2 days, this has not happened yesterday. The government says nothing. The Coast Guard says nothing. This morning they denied the speech. We at the Indian Express withheld that video until the afternoon because we knew.
Was this video, if I may be allowed to ask, was this video given to you by someone within the Coast Guard? Was it a reporter? Was this an in-camera meeting? Was this supposed to be a meeting off camera? I'm just asking you because the video itself is the most damning evidence that exists there.
The video is videography made by the Coast Guard itself.
It's made by the Coast Guard itself.
Or by a person in their employ. I cannot vouch for, but that camera is not an Indian Express camera. We don't do this kind of sting stuff. It's before an audience of his peers, as you can quite clearly see. He is speaking before other officers of the Coast Guard, not one of whom seems to take any exception to this purported brag.
What according to you, how would you respond to what Sambit Patra and a few others are already saying? They even accused you when you raised your story about the boat having smugglers and not terrorists, that this is an act of anti-nationalism. It's an anti-national act. Sambit Patra, to use his exact words, said you are providing oxygen to Pakistan.
By saying,
no, you said oxygen to Pakistan.
Rajdeep,
those were your words.
Let me clarify one thing and make it absolutely clear.
Yes.
My jibe about Pakistan oxygen may be to Abhishek Manu Singhvi, but I do not resort to such kind of retorts to journalism.
Okay, good.
Journalists are free to make their statement.
Made the distinction.
But my question is to politicians, because they are the opposition, and any statement made by the opposition of this country gives oxygen to Pakistan. I have nothing against journalists of this country.
Okay, so journalists can raise those statements, but the opposition cannot. But go ahead,
you can raise umpteen number of questions.
Okay, then let Praveen respond, and then I'll bring you in, Dr. Singhvi.
Let me just say this. I'd like to think we can have a discussion without impugning each other's patriotism. It's a national habit, which I would choose to refrain from. I don't think it's appropriate in a discussion. Having said that, if there's anything here that's keeping this debate alive, it's the nonsensical answers that have been offered, including regrettably by the defense minister. The defense minister in his first statement and in his interview to Headlines today says very categorically that the Coast Guard never came closer than a kilometer to the ship.
That's right.
In the very next breath, he says the ship was cornered and therefore its crew felt compelled to commit suicide. Just as a common sense notion, this is I don't see how you can corner something from a kilometer away. The defense minister then goes on to speculate about the cyanide story, while at once saying that the men were under decks. There is the initial story from the defense ministry about explosives being on board, which is rebutted by many experts who look at that image you're seeing on your screen right now.
And say that cannot have been done by those explosives.
That cannot have been done by explosives. There are a whole bunch of stories here that have come out from time to time. I think as citizens we're entitled to know, because this has consequences. This action happened outside India's legal jurisdiction. Our legal jurisdiction ends at 12 nautical miles. Tomorrow, when Indian fishermen are shot at by a hostile navy and killed, we will have no leg to stand on and complain.
Isn't that the worry, Admiral Menon? Exactly what is being suggested by Praveen Swami today. If tomorrow an Indian boat is shot at by Pakistanis, how will we be able to claim the moral high ground after what has happened on the 31st of December and the fallout and the way we responded to it? They will use Loshali's statement now every time.
No, I think this but I think this discussion is wandering off into strange alleyways.
Why?
Certainly, if an Indian boat is shot at in international waters, we have no recourse but to protest, and that has happened in fact in Sri Lankan waters very often when our fishermen have trespassed into Sri Lankan waters. But as far as this political discussion is concerned, if the idea is to embarrass the defense minister, that's one issue. If the idea is to embarrass the Coast Guard, that's a different issue. I think one should be careful about what our objectives are.
No, but hold on. There is
as far as the Coast Guard is concerned.
Yes. Are you going to give the Coast Guard a clean chit? Are you giving the Coast Guard of the country a clean chit?
Well, at the worst, the Coast Guard is guilty of disproportionate violence. But even disproportionate action is not a crime as such.
Hold on. In international law, I'm sorry to say this, in international law, if you fire at a boat outside your international waters and if it is found that the boat has been blown up, when it may not have contained terrorists, it will be seen. Pakistan could take this up in international fora and embarrass us. Look, the fact is, as journalists, we will ask these questions. So I think, before someone there tries to suggest that we are being unpatriotic by raising this question, these are obvious questions. Praveen, the point Admiral Menon is making is the Coast Guard. He's been making the distinction between the Coast Guard and the Defence Minister. That the Defence Minister's statement should not be seen to in any way embarrass the Coast Guard in the way it's functioned.
I don't see what the embarrassment is. I think Prime Minister Narendra Modi set a stellar example of accountability on his first speech in Kashmir. He expressed pride in the fact that a military unit where 5 people had been involved in killing innocent civilians had for the first time been court-martialed and punished.
Yes.
He expressed pride in the fact that he'd made the military apologize for shooting dead 2 teenagers in suspicious circumstances, and I think he was right to be proud about these things. There were many people in the armed forces.
What are you suggesting in this case?
The Coast Guard has, prima facie and judging by what its own people are saying to each other in their private fora, has committed a criminal act. I'm sorry, but that's what it is. The law is the law. You cannot blow up 4 people offering no resistance to you at 1 kilometer range. I think it is high time for the
It will be likened in that sense to what happened with the Italian Navy personnel who shot at Indian fishermen off the coast of Kerala.
Exactly identical. And I think that the mature, honest, straightforward thing to do is to say, somebody made a mistake, we will find out who that person was and we will deal with it. Not this blanket of denial and embarrassment. It's just childish and embarrassing.
I want to bring in the 2 politicians on that point. Is it time for the 2 politicians, whether opposition or government, just to...
Rajdeep.
We have a parliament session coming. Yes, Abhishek Manu Singhvi, you first and then Sambit. Quickly. Do you believe that
I have a totally different take.
Yes.
Rajdeep, I have a totally different take.
Yes.
I am not here on the merits of the issue. The first point is that even assuming, and it's certainly not par for the course, but even assuming that this has been a use of disproportionate force, had the Defence Minister and the Government of India come clean for the last 2 months, the whole country would have supported them. Even though by mistake or otherwise disproportionate force is used, if there is evidence of terrorism, if there is evidence of wrongdoing, the whole country would support. But here is a situation where the Defence Minister is repeatedly saying and sharing nothing. The departments are clearly speaking on better domain knowledge about what really happened, and there is really speaking a very
Would you support what Praveen Swami is saying? Would you support what Praveen Swami is saying, that the government, if necessary, should say that we made a mistake?
No, I don't know. My point is a preliminary point to that. I want to know what the government stand is. For 2 months you've not been told what the stand is. So how do I make the conclusion Praveen Swami is making? He may be right, he may be wrong. But the government is the one, because by not speaking up, it is giving credence to all speculations. And second point is very important. To that it is no answer, Rajdeep. One second. Yes. To that it is no answer to take refuge in patriotism. We are not living in a McCarthy era. India is a proud democracy. Everybody who speaks up for the truth or for getting an accountable version from the government is not, doing what they said is patriotism, cannot be made the refuge of this council.
Can I bring in Sambit Patra on that? Because the other view would be that effectively what is happening is that Pakistan will be the big beneficiary of the kind of political debate that will take place in this country, possibly even in the parliament session that begins on Monday. But a final word to you, Sambit Patra. Abhishek Manu Singhvi says, asking questions is the essence of democracy. The opposition is asking questions.
Allow me a rebuttal.
Yes, go ahead.
Foremost, I was pinching myself just to feel that I was at home in India and debating this in India.
Yes.
Because I was at times feeling that probably I was debating in Pakistan. This is just a rhetoric, by the way.
No, that's not rhetoric. That's not rhetoric. You're trying to suggest that anyone who asks questions to the Defence Minister of India is essentially anti-national.
No, please.
That makes us different from Pakistan. India is not Pakistan, Samit Patra.
I was not interrupting anyone. Do I have the right to answer, Rajdeep? Do I have the right to answer?
I am not questioning the patriotism of the Defence Minister, but I have the right to ask him a question. I don't think you have the right to say, to even suggest that any of us are anti-national.
And today I would be extremely candid and very straightforward. Let me suggest that when Pakistan was not complaining about all this, why were Praveen Swami and Mr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi complain? Why do we need to have an external enemy when enemy is within? Secondly, you said,
this Samit Patra, this is unacceptable. We are as patriotic as you are. You cannot question.
I'm not questioning your patriotism. I'm not questioning anyone's Rajdeep. I'm not questioning your patriotism. I'm making my point of view. Allow me to complete my point of view, then you can all crucify me thereafter. But let me complete my point of view, Mr. Praveen Swami. I heard you when you said that Mr. Defence Minister was making a nonsensical statement.
I expect you to have the
Praveen Swami, I heard you when, as an eminent journalist, you said that the Defence Minister of this country was making nonsensical statements.
Correct. And
this
you can
was
accuse me of nonsense.
You should retract.
Do not impugn my patriotism.
No, you should retract. As an eminent journalist, you should retract such statement when you
I'm asking for an answer
Raksha
which you are
Mantri
not
was
giving.
making nonsensical statement. By the way, this is what is providing oxygen to Pakistan when you say the Defence Minister of this country is speaking
that
nonsense.
is giving oxygen,
the Defence
not the
Minister
questioning
does not
of that
speak
nonsense.
By the way, the Defence Minister of this country and the government speaks sense. The only thing is that people like you and Abhishek Manu Singhvi cannot see the sense of India, and you are trying to provide oxygen.
No, this is unfair. Samit Patra,
this is not unfair.
I'm going to ask you a simple question.
This is what the nation is seeing right now. This is what the nation is seeing through the channel right now.
Why don't you put the official investigation then before the
No, let me rebut. Let me rebut to what point by point Mr. Praveen Swami said. He said that Mr. Loshali was speaking in front of an audience which seemed to know everything.
I did not say that. That is your fantasy. At least listen to what people are saying.
You said that the audience was an elite one who happened to know a lot.
No, I said nothing of the kind.
So the audience would have objected to Loshali.
No, I said it was an audience of his colleagues who are Coast Guard officers.
Was I interrupting you, Mr. Praveen Shankar? Was I interrupting you? Please allow me to complete.
I'm afraid you're misrepresenting me.
Allow me to complete. Allow me to rebut you scientifically. Allow me to rebut you scientifically.
Yes.
The audience may be junior to what Mr. Loshali's post is, because the way Mr. Loshali is addressing the audience, it only appears that Mr. Loshali is the senior most person, he having inaugurated the session. So naturally the audience in no way is supposed to know what the truth is, and Mr. Loshali himself not within the jurisdiction of doing what has been done. Definitely Mr. Loshali can mislead anyone by his boastful talks, but this is all left to the procedural inquiry that has been ordered. So why jump into conclusions and say that the Raksha Mantri was giving nonsensical speeches?
Why doesn't the Raksha Mantri end this argument by putting that official
I asked Mr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi. I asked one question to Mr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, and they should answer all. Did during the Bangladesh war, Indira Gandhi came up with everything to the public domain? No, and neither did the BJP demand that you should come with everything to the public domain. We do not want everything in the public domain. That is in national security.
Okay, so you're saying it's a national security issue which is not to be put in the public domain.
And go to the Defence Minister, meet in person, talk to him, and then conclude. Why do you want to conclude in the television debates where the whole world feels that India is wrong and Pakistan is right? This is what my question is.
Okay, I'm going to leave it. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, just a final word, because I think we've now reached the stage where the debate is going into questioning each other's patriotism rather than answering the simple questions that have been raised. Was this boat blown up? Or was this boat one where those involved were terrorists who blew themselves up? It's a simple question that needs to be answered, but go ahead very quickly.
Rajdeep, it's firstly, it is precisely to avoid answer to simple questions that illusions of grandeur are coming in, arrogance in power is coming in. We are the government, we have spoken. How dare you question? If you question, you're unpatriotic. This kind of an approach is highly regrettable, it's tragic. It's unheard of. In 8 months of governance, this kind of approach, it strongly should be deprecated and condemned. Second, misplaced analogies will not help. Indira Gandhi did not tell the nation that I am going to place before you the details of the Bangladesh war. The Defence Minister has said so 3 times for the last 1.5 months and done nothing. This is not an international war. it is the bombing of a Coast Guard. It would help if the government came out with the facts, because it would set to rest all speculation.
Will you respect those
and
facts?
For God's sake,
will you respect the facts that the government comes up with? Will you respect the facts, or will you continue to question the government?
Of course. In this country, unprecedented support has been given always, from Kargil war to other situations, if you come up with a fair disclosure. And the disclosure, the degree and the extent is your decision. Right. Here there is no disclosure. What is happening is that in arrogance is suggesting that anybody who speaks against you, how dare you ask me a question?
Rajdeep,
you are unpatriotic.
10 seconds.
Yes.
This is absolutely tragic and regrettable. It's condemnable.
I will give 10 seconds to Sambit and then 10 seconds to Praveen.
With all
Go
due
ahead,
respect to the panel, with all due respect to the panel, I would say my arrogance that puts India in a better position is far better than the foolishness of Congress and the opposition, which puts India in a tight spot.
Well, you know, I'm just seeing on Twitter, Sambit, someone saying, according to Sambit Swaraj, it seems anyone who questioned the defense minister and the army in this country is anti-national. That seems to be the line of argument you've taken today. But the fact is, Praveen Swami, will you as a journalist believe that we should accept, let's say if the defense minister comes up with this inquiry report, puts it out in the public domain and says, look, the Coast Guard believed that there were terrorists on that boat, therefore they went there, conducted an operation. Whether they blew up the boat or not will come out in that report. Will you accept their version?
If there is a lucid and coherent report, I'd be the first to accept it. We've been asking week after week after week for something sensible to be said.
Right.
We've been given date after date for that to happen. The latest open-ended offer is on Monday. I look forward to the defense minister saying what he has to say. I will say, though, that it's my job to ask questions. That's why we have a thing called the media in this republic.
And therefore, that's why we are perhaps not Pakistan. That's why we are not Pakistan. Maybe if this program was conducted on Pakistan television, you would perhaps not be allowed to ask these questions. Certainly on some channels of Pakistan, you would not be allowed to ask these questions. And that's what makes our democracy superior to that of our neighbor, that we can ask these questions. And I hope, Mr. Patra, you will take it in that spirit, that these are questions that are being asked because the country, I think, needs to know the answers to this question. We are, in that sense, a true democracy. I appreciate all my panelists joining us on this question. And let's hope that no one's patriotism is constantly questioned. My take, where do we stand? Despite the attempt by the defense minister to play down the issue, a senior Coast Guard's official's loose talk has undoubtedly embarrassed the country. If a Pakistani boat was blasted without adequate proof of it being involved in terror-related activity, then the government must come clean. Let not the adventurism of a few become a reason for the entire security establishment to be pushed on the defensive.